Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cool Story Show podcast. This is Andy Spiteri, and as always, I'm joined by...
Alex Gurnett.
Aaron Corbett.
David Meyer.
We're here today to talk about the most important video games. Now, a couple key rules to keep in mind. These gentlemen here are defining what is important for themselves. So maybe quickly let's go around and get what our definition of being an important video game is. Aaron.
I think for it to be an important video game, it has to have introduced mechanics into the game that are revolutionary, that other games coming after it have copied, maybe not copied, but like have gone off of. It has to have changed the landscape of video gaming as a whole, or within that specific genre, I think, to be considered important.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's you have to feel the DNA of that game living on today in current games. Maybe not even of the same genre, but definitely you can feel the footprints. And if that game had never been made, maybe it wasn't the first of its kind, but it took it to the forefront, it revolutionized, or just perfected something. So yeah.
I think important to me it would be definitely like it changed how things were done, in a good way, and then like in a selfish way, kind of important to me as well. Like games that kind of changed how I played video games from being a kid to an adult.
Okay.
I think a lot of with the video games for myself, it's kind of just like memories. Like when you do something and like even for video games, you're like this was incredible, or you always kind of remember it. That to me is part of it. The other part is just like what the game itself did to kind of the industry and how it redefined a lot of the games that came forward from it. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, no, that's important DNA, video games.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we each limited ourselves to 5 video games. So we're going to start with Dave. We're going to go around the table one at a time. So Dave, take it away.
Number 1 for me is Tetris. I remember very long hours playing this game on the original Game Boy.
Tetris.
Is that the Lord of the Rings thing?
Shut up.
Oh, shit, they're all the same.
Yeah.
No, Tetris, one of the first games for me that I remember. Probably one of the most original games that came out that everyone's played.
Fun fact for everybody, the best-selling game across every single platform ever. PC, every console, handheld, the best-selling game across everything.
Yep. I don't think you can meet a single person who's never played a game of Tetris in their life.
I believe it was originally designed as a military program.
It was by a Russian dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Have no clue. You play Tetris now.
In Soviet Russia.
Tetris plays you.
Tetris play you.
But to me, Tetris was one of the first games that I can remember playing, so I put that on my list.
I'm right there with you, man.
Okay. I'm going to go and say The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Good choice.
Gonna say probably my favorite game ever of all time.
It is my favorite game, but also just the amount of sheer gameplay mechanics it introduced. Touch-sensitive buttons. It introduced targeting, like Z targeting. It introduced just automatic jumping, a lot of different gameplay mechanics, and it introduced a lot of the standard button layout as well that you see.
Another thing what it did when Nintendo was kind of an earlier or a younger console, and there wasn't a ton else out there, what Legend of Zelda did was it made cutscenes in games a lot more cinematic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
definitely.
But before then, they were cinematic, but like not to the extent that Legend of Zelda took it to.
Yeah,
I think.
I would agree that it took story to a whole nother level. At that point, the PlayStation was just coming out and kind of getting warmed up with Final Fantasy and stuff like that. But hey man, I love PlayStation.
Could you argue that it also introduced one of the most annoying aspects of video games? With
Hey, listen!
Hey,
you know what? I didn't mind Navi.
Whoa, Navi was fine.
Or the owl.
Well, let's not get into that.
Fuck the owl.
Tune into our quickie to hear about the owl.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's also Legend of Zelda is the most critically acclaimed game of all time on Metacritic and game rankings. So I mean,
I have to say, as much as it did introduce automatic jumping, I hate automatic jumping in a game. I don't know how many times I stepped towards an edge and he went flying off of it because that's what you do. Like,
I hate not being able to jump in a video game.
Yeah, that's true. I hate not jumping more than automatic.
Well, because you've been raised on Mario a lot before then, right? Mario or Sonic, so it's a difference for sure. Go ahead.
I'd say for like my number one would probably be Halo 2, and I think that plays a lot into more like important to me. Like when I started playing Halo 2, it was just revolutionary to me for games, but it also introduced a lot of stuff to first-person shooters, and it was really the first big platform game to introduce multiplayer. Like it was.
I wouldn't say it introduced multiplayer, but introduced multiplayer on
on
live.
live. Yeah, sorry, that's on live. So playing with like someone that's just across the world, you know nothing about, but having a blast. You'd meet friends on there. Like I have friends on my Xbox account that I still met from Halo 2, which was 10 years ago, more than that. So
yeah, I have to I completely agree. The difference between Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2, like online multiplayer, was huge. Halo 2 was massive in like the depth of their online multiplayer, and Halo Combat Evolved didn't even come close to that. I don't think any other shooter kind of game even touched close to what Halo 2 did at that point.
See, for me, I just actually played 6 months ago. I played all of the Halo games thus far, and well, I wouldn't say that the multiplayer in Halo 2 for me was my favorite because I didn't really play it that much. I would probably say that story-wise and gameplay mechanic-wise, I think is probably my favorite. It was really cool.
And like music in Halo for me was just top notch all the time. Like having an orchestra, like conduct. I mean, other games had done it, but it just was amazing.
Also, it was one of the first games that I can remember playing when you played from 2 points of view. You played as Halo, like you played as the Chief.
Oh yeah.
And you played as the Arbiter. Like I can't think of like another game that I played two different points of view that were kind of like contradicting until whatever kind of the end of the game. But like that was cool.
Yeah, you could maybe argue Resident Evil. We played two different ones there, but
True.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, so my number one, I gotta say is for most important is Grand Theft Auto 3, and that took realistically what was an open world game, but from a top down perspective into a completely fully realized 3D universe, and it was one of the first games ever to do that, and it did it. Rockstar did it so well that I can't think of a person. There's probably not a person out there in internet land that doesn't know what GTA is right now. And that is all because of Grand Theft Auto 3 and like what they did. It was a completely fully realized world. Liberty City, which is kind of a play on New York or Chicago or any kind of big metropolitan like urban area. You played a man with no name who never talked, and he was kind of out on a story of revenge, and you could do any fucking thing you wanted. You could play the game, you could play through the story, you could go on a fucking destruction rampage with I know Alex Gurnett loves doing that in Grand Theft Auto. You could
every game.
The media fucking hated it. Because you could bang hookers, you could kill people, you could steal money.
Actually, I remember a campaign against releasing Vice City.
Yeah,
from,
people
PTA.
hated Grand Theft Auto because it was way at the time it was too far out there. I think for a lot of people, like you're playing a video game, you can kill a hooker and steal her money. That was a lot of people hated that, but that was revolutionary for games.
You know what they say about art imitating life?
No.
Shh. Oh, okay,
Andy, let's not talk about this right now. We're on the internet.
Dave, why don't you tell us what's next on your list?
Just quickly, to go back to what Aaron was saying about GTA, it was one of the first games that actually kind of pushed limits to what's also okay in a video game. Mm-hmm. Because
huge.
You know what? That's not true. There was a Nintendo game back in the day, and there was like sperm falling from the sky or something like that. It was almost like Galaga.
Is this a game or your dream?
No. I'm serious. I can't remember what it's called.
Heavy sperm rain.
Yeah, no. Your job was to run around, and you had a lady in your arms or something. You would impregnate them. I
who
swear
remembers that game?
No one remembers that. No, I agree. But
yeah,
ejaculation falls.
Fuck, maybe. I'll look into this next podcast. We'll know.
Set fire to that rain.
Okay.
Number 2 for me is Minecraft. I cannot think of a game that I've spent countless hours sinking myself into. Just like how you can be creative, how you can be free with it. Like you can do pretty much whatever you want.
Control people.
I was actually playing with Alex Gurnett once, and I had built this beautiful underground home in a mountain. And Alex proceeded to troll me by dumping lava into it and flooding my newly formed home, burning me. I don't even think I got out. I think he burned me alive. And my cool home that I had spent hours working on was gone. Just the premise to this game that you can literally do whatever you want as far as your imagination is concerned is just mind blowing.
And all ages too. Literally kids from 3 to 80 play that game.
And I gotta say, it's in this modern age, it's nice to have a game that is completely about building. And, creating shit, that's nice, whatever. It's not about fucking killing each other. It's not about playing through a story. you're dropped in a world, and you can build whatever you feel like, whatever you want, and I can guarantee there's a lot of games that have spawned off the whole Minecraft idea of like you go in a world, you can build things, you can mine things.
Even that in itself is a spawn off of like SimCity, kind of Animal Crossing, but I think it just does it so well that yeah, for sure.
Minecraft, excellent.
All right, Andy.
Super Mario 64.
Ooh.
The Nintendo 64 was just a haven for new kind of video games being
It
released.
revolutionized a lot of genres.
I remember being a kid and they had a Nintendo 64 at like Zeller's or something like that, and I was trying to move with the D-pad. I'm like, why the fuck isn't Mario moving? And just from the way that the analog stick just controlled just absolutely beautifully with the game, the way that you could rotate the camera, the way that there were stars hidden in all the worlds, and you can come back and just play the same level, but it's a different experience every time. I mean, just for the 3D alone, that was the first game that hit a console that really told us what the 3D era was going to be about.
And the sound.
Yeah.
Even just Mario himself, like, oh, ahoy, oh, like, that was fucking awesome. That was the
the
worst impression of Mario
yeah.
ever. But you all know what I mean, Internet. Like, the sound of that game was unfucking real.
I think between that and that game and Halo 2 are the two games that I can still like remember playing parts of it. Like I remember going through parts.
Absolutely,
I remember that whole castle, probably almost like the back
yeah,
of my
like
hand.
almost off by heart.
Yeah, I could get to every room. If
Oh,
I
I can
Someone's
still
like, go to
whistle the
this.
first theme song of Thwompland or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's one of those games that you can still play to this day, and it's still awesome.
It's still fun. It's still amazing.
Yeah. So Mario 64.
Alex Gurnett.
I'm gonna go old school. I'd
All
say
right.
Pong. I think I played Pong once.
Okay.
And a lot of people could argue, like, oh, it was the first game. Something had to be the first game to break through and start it. And yeah, you could say if Pong didn't come around, something else would have been the first game. But it's the first, like, kind of that mainstream thing that got people going. It got people hunkered in their living room, sitting in front of the TV. You know, they had their friends come over. That's
Two
what-
battles.
Yeah, sitting through school, and you're like, I want to get home and play Pong, which sounds really stupid now. Because you'd be like, oh, I want to get home and play.
Can you even Pong, bro?
Yeah, so that's why I kind of picked
Pong, like, retro choice.
Yeah.
I can
Very-
only
very
imagine
retro.
that being, like, the only game available.
Yeah.
Hey man, times were tough back in the arcade days.
All right. To kind of follow with the retro vibe, I'm sure a lot of you 90s kids remember playing Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail, what the hell is that?
You have a dysentery. Or what? You
Oregon Trail, it was a Mac game. You would pick your crew. You'd pick a season to start, and you would set out on the Oregon Trail in like a wagon. You could lose guys to disease. You had to fix your wagon. You had to like encounter hardships on the road. It was kind of like it was set up as an educational game.
It looked horrible.
But it did. But let's remember it was like an early '90s Mac. But I think realistically it did transcend like just a simple education game. Like it was a solid like adventure RPG, we could call it nowadays, and like things have actually spawned off of it from this point, like adventuring across the land and like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Never even heard of it.
It's Michael. Like, so really? You never heard of
I've
Oregon Trail?
never heard of it. No.
Wow. Alex,
I've
you
only
have?
played it like once, but I've heard it.
Dave, you have?
One of those internet
Seen the
meme
porno.
things.
I think that's an important game because that
Porno haven't
is
you seen?
Orgasm and Trail.
like Pong was an old game. Oregon Trail probably predates a lot of what we're talking about right now, and a lot of those mechanics have been pulled into other games.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Dave.
Number 3 for me is Pokemon.
Pokemon Red Blue.
Original Pokemon, yeah,
Snap.
Red Blue.
Yeah, so Red
Yeah.
Blue. Okay.
Snap was good though. Just to me, like I remember, picking that game up with your Game Boy, and like all your friends had it, and you could get together and you could fight each other. And
Was that remind me? Is that the one you could connect the cables to each other?
Yes.
Or-
That would
yeah.
be my reason for it. That's
Yeah.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's the first game that you could really connect with, like
for handheld devices.
I loved it.
for a handheld device. Yeah.
Someone finally got that cord in my school, and everyone's like, "I need it."
You know
And they're,
what?
like, plugging each
I
other
even
in.
think just for any device at all, like not including computer, like you couldn't connect consoles at that time. There's no
No.
real multiplayer.
Can I just throw out like the craze that some people have of collecting all of the Pokemon? That started with the very first Pokemon. And that's
Gotta
like
get 'em all.
that's
Yeah, that was
still
me, man.
that still goes today. Like we all know people who have to get every single Pokemon, which some of us find ridiculous. But some people have to get them all.
I think our friend Trevor, doesn't he have them all?
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
And he's been spending years collecting them all, which is crazy.
Yeah, years.
Andy.
I'm going to go old school as well and say Metroid. Released back in 1987, Metroid kind of turned the traditional... After Super Mario Bros. Was released, and Legend of Zelda, to a lesser extent, was released, there's a very formulaic approach to platformers where you would start, do a level, finish a level, go on to the next level. Metroid completely turned that on its head, and the style of that gameplay today is still called Metroidvania, because it throws you in a world, and you basically just go, and you can go from point A to point D, get a power up at point E that will help you progress at point C, where you've previously been before. So it's a whole world of exploration, and I think Super Metroid definitely took everything Metroid did and perfected it, but Metroid definitely laid the groundwork down for it. And at the time too, you would never have started as a female heroine in a game before. They were always getting captured. Or
Can I ask? I'm a little illiterate on video game history in this sense, but like when Metroid first came out, did the general public know that?
Nope. It was a complete surprise at the end of the game.
No one knew that she was a female. Like
Right.
that was like a huge shock to a lot of people that this action hero of video games it's a female. That was crazy.
I've not played a single Metroid game.
The only one I played was for the 64.
No, there wasn't.
GameCube.
GameCube, yeah. You played Metroid Prime.
Have they?
Metroid Prime.
Has there been a Metroid since?
Oh yeah,
There's
there's been a lot of Metroids. Yeah, like Metroid's one of those ones. It's not usually what people talk about when they talk about like the biggest game series of all times, but I think it's certainly one of the most influential for sure. I mean, and a lot of people probably more so know Samus than they do Metroid itself, but yeah. Go ahead, Gurns.
Samus is hot.
I'm just kind of looking at my list, and so many of them, aside from Halo 2, are old games, and I think just plays off of how they kind of started to really lay the groundwork for things. But Super Mario Brothers, I mean, like, it's
The like original side scroller in essence.
and just introducing like. Could you ride Yoshi in that one?
No, that was Super Mario
Because I remember
World.
reading something that like they wanted to, but they literally couldn't figure out how to make it work inside. So it's like even their ideas about that game were so far ahead of everything that they couldn't actually even do things about it. It's just hours of gameplay spent on it. Like introduced like enemies in I think a different way than other ones. You know, I had like the small little enemy, then you had the mid boss, and then you had Bowser, stuff like that.
I think even with items as well too, the item progression. I don't think a lot of games had items that you could like equip or that would change the way that you were, or your functionability, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only that, but it's also one of the longest running games that has pretty much kept its almost same formula, and it's still being released today with almost the same content, and it's still amazing.
And I almost think people take that game for granted, but by just how many things it introduced. Because I was really, it really introduced too, like the button layout of the controller as well. Like, you know, press this to run, press this to jump. It flowed very seamlessly together.
Yeah, and you can think of a ton of side scrollers now. Like I mean, that spawn from it, and it seems like they're almost all copying because it's like how
I would say almost every side scroller is.
It looks like
spawned
Everything
from Super
owes
Mario.
something to Mario.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, if you say name a video game character, 90% of people are gonna be like, oh, Mario. So
Okay, I'm going to throw out something a little bit different here. Angry Birds for the iOS system. Maybe not your typical game, but like really the first massive popular game on a handheld on your phone, which has become a pretty big gaming industry.
Massive.
Not everybody takes part in it, but like it's huge. There's endless amounts of games you can play on your phone, and Angry Birds, if I'm not mistaken, was the first big popular game you could play on your phone. It was simple. You just launch a bird at a fucking bunch of pigs on a little castle or whatever, take them out. But like, it was massive. And
Sounds simple,
Ravio created just such a simple game, but like it just blew up and it was huge.
The thing about Angry Birds to me is that the concept is so ridiculous, but like you look back to Super Mario, like that was pretty ridiculous.
That's pretty
too. Like,
ridiculous. Absolutely.
I feel like it's a lot of the same kind of, maybe not, you know, an exploration based sense, but the genesis of the idea, I feel, is a lot of the same stuff.
looking at like the facts behind that game too, or like insane. It's like this is how many birds are launched in a day, or like this is how many hours that anyone's ever spent on that, and it's like just billions of hours are spent on throwing birds at pigs.
But could you also take Angry Birds and kind of look at the backlash that it's had? Like me and Aaron went to Toys R Us the other day. Don't ask why, but you know, you walk back and they have like a whole section
Giraffe for life
of Angry Birds merchandise. Like even the Star Wars for Xbox One is like $30.
Yeah,
I think Ravio as a company has just kind of taken.
Well, why wouldn't you? If people are like, we'll give you.
I don't think that's backlash. You see Super Mario on T-shirts everywhere.
Does that saturate a game though?
No,
Not really.
I think what saturates a game for me that's like that is like in-game purchase, like Candy Crush. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you need to invite 8 people and you need to share this so you can advance to the next level, or you can just pay $2. And it's like, I don't want anyone to know I play Candy Crush, so I don't want to share it, but I don't want to pay $2. Like,
It's like we're in Crocs.
I think it's just pretty incredible how just such a simple game, like launching a bird and a bunch of pigs, became so massive that it spawned into like merchandise, everything. Like, it's pretty incredible.
you think about like Flappy Bird, how it like
Yeah.
ruined a guy within a week. Like,
Yeah.
And look at all the clones that have spun off of that.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Number 4 for me is Warcraft. Not World of Warcraft, but the original one for PC that came out, kind of like StarCraft. To me, it was a game where you could connect with your friends and you could play, like, match your armies against each other. Like, you got to kind of choose strategies and stuff. And that kind of, I think, spawned, you know, obviously StarCraft was another big one coming down the pipe.
Same company. Yeah.
Warcraft 3 spawned MOBAs, which has become really big. League of Legends, Dota 2, like, and those are taken over quite dominantly now. But I think Warcraft is kind of the start for all that.
MOBAs are lame.
And Command and Conquer 2 is another one that came out at the same time. I don't remember which came out first, but both revolutionary.
Warcraft, the original RTS, like.
And it's definitely weird being like a console kid to hear all these computer games too. Because like you just miss out on all that, eh? Like
You guys, Andy and Alex, you never played on a computer when you were young?
Sims.
never.
You always, like,
No,
Andy,
Sims and Roller Coaster
Andy, you
Tycoon.
had, and like, obviously you had Nintendo.
I had Nintendo for life.
N64. Alex, you had.
Nintendo and then Xbox.
Dave, you had.
I had computer and N64.
I had computer and N64.
But yeah, by the time that I had a PlayStation, by the time PlayStation was out, I had like a Sega Saturn too. But
I never had anything but N64 and computer. I never had a
Oldest
Sega or
console
anything.
for me was an N64. Or no, I had a Super.
I had a Super
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Yeah, that's true.
I even collect them after they went out of business because
I still have
after
mine.
they stopped making
Popped
them.
it in the other day.
So I'm gonna go ahead and speaking of the Nintendo 64 again, say GoldenEye 64.
Oh.
Tell me you guys don't remember. Like, let's put it this way: there were first-person shooters before and after GoldenEye. I don't care what all you computer guys say out there. GoldenEye took it into the stratosphere.
I love GoldenEye.
Countless hours of multiplayer, just sitting around, four-screen, proximity mines, trying to shoot Odd Job.
Can I just throw out there, like, GoldenEye was a fantastic first-person shooter. The campaign was incredible. They based it off a movie, obviously.
You know what? At that point, usually that wasn't done right very well either. Licensed
Still
games
can be done
usually
wrong
suck.
today.
But
Yeah.
like you said, Andy, what absolutely killed it with GoldenEye is the fact that you could sit down, like the four of us could sit down and play 4-on-4 GoldenEye on the same TV, which at that point you really couldn't do
At
very
that
much,
point,
and it was
yeah.
so fun. It
I
was
miss
so great.
The only game that does that anymore is Brawl.
Really.
It's
Like that's the only game.
this day and age, couch co-op has almost disappeared. It's almost disappeared.
So that was the first of its kind, really. There was only really another multiplayer game at that point was Mario Kart. So essentially introducing first-person shooters to a console, and the way that they did it was such style. It was so good, and I don't think that you see games like Call of Duty or Destiny or even Halo. I don't think without having GoldenEye come first and pave the way.
Crazy fact for you. Final Fantasy VII was 2 gigabytes, which is roughly around what a movie would be if you were to download it or acquire it legally.
Nerd facts.
Good fact.
Nerd fact.
GoldenEye was only 12 megabytes.
Oh wow!
Can I throw out something else? No matter how great a game is, no matter how great the sound is, the graphics are, all that really matters is that it's fun in the end. And
That's
GoldenEye was fun. No matter what you did, if you were by yourself, if you were playing with 1, 2, 3, or 4 friends, it was always a blast, a complete blast to play. You always laughed. You had a great time.
It's a really quick question, guys. Yes or no? Do you think Perfect Dark was better than GoldenEye? Because I'll say yes.
I think GoldenEye was better because
GoldenEye.
it was the original.
GoldenEye.
Oh, wow.
And I will say I loved Perfect Dark. It had a lot of things that GoldenEye didn't have, but GoldenEye came first. I think GoldenEye was like the predecessor, and it was the champ of those original early first person shooters.
I'm going to take a long ball here and kind of take it off track here with best multiplayer game that you can think of playing with friends. I'm going to say Mario Party.
Super Smash Bros.
Sorry, multiplayer game in the same room. Like if you were to just pick up 4 controllers. Yeah.
Couch co-op.
Super Smash Bros.
I'm just gonna throw it out there and say like Andy, I know this isn't like your jam, but like Halo, any iteration of it,
No,
1,
I
2, 3.
love playing Halo.
I don't know you're a Halo dude, but like Halo, I've had more fun playing Halo on a couch with 2, 3, 4 friends than probably any game ever. I love Halo Reach 2, 3, 4. It's great.
I'm gonna go with Halo 2. Like, even though you could play it online, I still remember playing like having a few friends over, and still playing it co-op, like on a couch. Like, even though live was there, we didn't always play it that way. Because not everyone had live. You know?
Right.
It was still new.
Okay, so go ahead with number 4.
I'm gonna say Donkey Kong, and I'm talking the one where he's throwing barrels at you and Mario's trying to save. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is the introduction of Mario.
Mario, Donkey Kong. Actually, he's not trying to save Peach though.
Oh, that's right. It's not technically Peach, but
It
just
was
the introduction
Daisy.
of introducing Mario. Like, it's like I said before. I mean, it's probably the most well-known video game character, and think about how like everything is. There's Mario everywhere, and like you're saying, like Angry Birds, it's merged everywhere. But Mario, like, it's in every game. He's Easter eggs on everything. It's just spawned a whole new thing. It's Nintendo's kind of like spokesperson, or their kind of mascot in a way.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Okay, Aaron.
Dave already mentioned Warcraft. I'm going to say the World of Warcraft. Now, before the World of Warcraft, there was, I might be wrong, my diseased imagination might be failing me, but there was no massively multiplayer online games that I can remember. There was like RuneScape, there was a couple little ones, but like the World of Warcraft, or WoW, really took it into the fucking stratosphere and blew the stratosphere up, because like there was like 10 billion people playing that game. There was stuff like EverQuest. There was other stuff, but the World of Warcraft was a massive. If you guys disagree, but that was like that, and even still nowadays, I don't know how long it's been out for. Like,
I feel like if you ever
10 plus years, it is still pretty much the daddy of like massively multiplayer
I feel like
online.
it's set up the really established template of how to manage MMO online.
Absolutely.
I don't play it because I know that if I ever do someday, I won't stop. Like I watch people that have played it and they're like, yeah, I haven't played it in a year, and then
Gerns will be like the orc dancing on the plane.
Yeah.
It's like,
I actually had a friend try to convince me to replay it today, and I said no because I've been
It
playing.
sounds like smoking. It's like
Yeah.
after you quit, you
it is
always
basically.
have
It's very
cravings,
addictive.
so.
I've been playing. I remember I played WoW back in 2000, early 13 when the beta came out, and I've been literally almost playing it for it was like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And you are right about that. Like the game just gets ridiculously addictive, and it is the perfect game that has ever been made for a massive multiplayer online game so far.
Okay, Dave. So go ahead with our last one. We're gonna do the last ones a little bit quicker here.
My last one is a game that is probably one of the earlier multiplayer games I remember playing is Diablo.
yeah, very good.
Amazing, cool game. Like another kind of off-branch thing like GTA, where you took kind of a topic like heaven and hell and fighting evil and put that into a game. And it's just probably one of my earliest memories playing a video game ever.
Yeah,
Never played Diablo.
I never played either. I was console kids.
Yeah, that's
Diablo, classic old school RPG.
Speaking of classic old school RPGs, I'm going Final Fantasy. There wasn't. I guess there was like D&D before that, but Final Fantasy definitely I think took RPGs and brought them to the mainstream. And I'm slightly cheating here because I was really debating if I was going to say Final Fantasy or Final Fantasy VII, because Final Fantasy VII took the RPGs that were getting a little bit stagnant at the time and really introduced character development, cutscenes, and music, and put them into an RPG in a way that is, people to this day still love Final Fantasy VII. It spawned off movies, different games, everything like that. So that game to me really showed what character development and that could do to a video game.
I have also not ever played a Final Fantasy.
But you
I have played
thought of it
only
Final
the
Fantasies.
first one ever, which was really fucking hard.
It was hard.
Yeah, fuck man, all NES games are hard.
All right, Gurns, what do you got?
I'm gonna go for a game that I haven't even played, but hear about all the time and know changed a lot of things. That's Doom.
Doom.
Yeah. I don't know how a lot of it works. I like I said, I've never played it, but from what I've heard and what it feels like, it's something that like really kind of.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was Wolfenstein, but wasn't Doom the first-person shooter ever?
That's
I think so. I
It
think
was,
that's
yeah,
right.
it was Wolfenstein, which was more or less a flat 2D game that kind of gave you the illusion of 3D. Doom actually, it didn't make it 3D, but it gave you a better illusion of 3D,
Yeah.
and it gave
forced
you more
perspectives and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, and it gave you more guns, more enemies, and bigger levels than at the time.
And
I believe,
think,
if I'm
if I
wrong,
remember
that
correctly,
anyone
it's
had
the
ever
first
seen.
red barrel. If you shot it, it blew up, and that's in like everything now. It's a
Fucking
red barrel. You
Fucking red
shoot it.
barrels every goddamn time.
Okay, Corbett.
All right, we'll continue with the trend. Halo Combat Evolved. Sorry, really like took first-person shooters what they were at when they came before. There was no Xbox; it was PlayStation 2. Xbox came out. Halo Combat Evolved came out, and it took first-person shooters like beyond what anyone had really seen. It mixed action, gameplay, music, graphics like no one had ever experienced. It gave you the most massive levels you could imagine. It gave you a completely unique and original sci-fi universe.
That was the Xbox launch title, right?
It was one of the Xbox launch
those-
titles.
So just that.
It was
Halo Xbox is fucked.
It was that, and I think Morrowind, and like one other game that came out with Xbox.
Morrowind wasn't
Halo.
out for
There's
for a
probably
while
not.
after.
Let's be honest. There's probably not a person out there who likes Halo or who doesn't like Halo that doesn't remember it. As soon as I say Halo, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right. Those are our most important video games, and we'd be really interested to hear if you agree or what your most important video games are as well. So please like and leave us a comment and let us know. This has been another gaming edition of the Cool Story Show. So you can find me at Twitter at Spiteri316,
At Gurnett A.
At acorbett48.
Dave Meyer 7.
Keep on gaming, baby. Let Lou live.
Let Lou die.
Cool Story Show done.